Hi, good morning, Esti. Nice to share the platform together. We're living in a time of unrest, uncertainty. It's a time when South Africa, but the whole world has been shaken by COVID and what that has brought to our lifestyles. And in particular, the events of the current affairs within our country of riots and demonstrations and looting and civil unrest within our own society, quite close to home, creates a sense of anxiety among many and uncertainty. And we thought it was a good idea to get together this morning and sort of discuss and chat together and share that which we feel or understand. So I know in your work of life coaching, anxiety, uncertainty, concerns is something that you often deal with. And perhaps you can share with me and with our viewers who are going to watch this afterwards, some skills or tools or some understanding that we could implement in our own framework within ourselves and our families with which to deal with the uncertainty and the anxiety of the times we live in today.
So life before has never been this uncertain, as you said. We've never had the challenges and the obstacles that we're dealing with today. And the way we were designed as human beings to live is more of a proactive role. Each one of us is the author of our own story. We're the captain of our own ships. We've really got to be able to, pull the reins of our own life and go in the direction that we want to go. It's almost like having that sense of control over your own life. It's called living proactively, living mindfully, living consciously, living with a sense of control, of purpose, knowing who I am, what makes me tick, what I value, what's important to me, and going forward from there. But unfortunately, because we're living in this completely stressed out, anxiety-filled kind of life, where we've got information overload happening at the click of a button, just the phone in your hand is this information overload that's coming in from every direction and causing so much stress and anxiety. What tends to happen is that we've almost lost touch with who we are. As human beings, we've got what we call an inner voice. In Judaism, we call it a neshama. And that inner voice inside of us, that neshama inside of us knows exactly who we are, what we need to accomplish, what we need to achieve, and where we need to head in our lives. And what we're supposed to live, the way we're supposed to live, is in sync with our inner voice, in sync with our neshama, with this compass in our lives that takes us to where we need to get to. But because anxiety and stress has taken over our lives, we're almost living like parallel to our inner voice. And that's why you find that today people are so lost. They've lost direction, lost track of who we are, lost this sense of self-awareness, knowing who I am and where I need to go. I often hear people saying, I feel so stuck. I don't know where to turn. I don't know where to go. I'm at a crossroads. These are very common lines that people are experiencing and feeling at the moment because we're living parallel lives to our inner voice. We're actually not living in sync with who we are. And that is partly due to the stress and the anxiety that we're dealing with. And because of that, what we see people living reactively. It's almost like, that pinball machine where the balls are flying in every direction. When you're living reactively, you're living like those balls in the machine. Whatever happens to me today, I'm like that ball that's going to be flown around in every direction. Depends what my boss says, my spouse says, my kids say, whatever. Depends. I don't know where I'm headed today. I'm going in whatever direction the balls in my life are going to throw me around kind of thing. So when you live in this reactive mode, you've lost who you are. You've lost that sense of, I know who I am, that self-awareness and the direction that you're going in your life. And so it's so important, it's so crucial, in fact, to touch base, to have that level of self-awareness, to know who I am, to know that I've got to be the author of my own story. I've got to be the captain of my own ship. I've got to pull the reins of my own horse and steer my life in the direction that I want to see it going. Because when you live in such a conscious way, when you're living mindfully, consciously, purpose-driven, which is proactively, then you almost get the sense of control. Of course, none of us are in control of our lives. We know that God's in control, but you're able to steer your life in the direction that you want to go. And with that sense of control comes responsibility. And when you're able to take responsibility for your own life, with that comes freedom. And that sense of self-liberation that comes with living proactively, it's the most incredible feeling that a person can live with. And that's really what if people could live proactively today, I really think people would just feel so much better, and the world we live in would be so much more of a better place to live in.
Yeah, I was thinking that on your notes, your topic, when chaos hits, chaos brings anxiety, chaos brings concern. But when chaos hits, I would say there are three general ways that people respond. There are some people who are totally naive to the chaos. Somehow they're oblivious. They just live lives not realizing at all what's taking place around them. They live on a different planet. There are some people like that, obviously not the average person, but that's one category, totally naive to the chaos that takes place around them. The second is people that choose to proactively run away from chaos. I don't know if that's even possible. We think that the other side is going to be more calm and more settled and less anxious and less concerning, right? But that's the mentality. I'm going to run away from this because I'm going to seek greener pastures, and there's not going to be an inch of worry at all. And the third category, I would say, is people that decide to resolve the situation or to do something to bring a solution or to bring change to the environment. Now, it's not always so easy because sometimes the problems are bigger than ourselves. Sometimes the problems are bigger than our own family or own community. So it's difficult to even find where the solution could be and what the solution is. But that's the mentality. The mentality kicks in and says, what can I do to change this situation? What can I do to improve the situation? I would say that the Jewish take on things is the third. The Jewish take on things isn't to be oblivious and naive to chaos. That's definitely not the Jewish way. The Jewish way is to be sensitive, to be open-eyed, to be aware of what's taking place around you. It's also not the Jewish way of things to run away and say, I'm going to find a better environment elsewhere, or I'm going to ignore what's taking place. That's not the Jewish way either. The Jewish way, what Torah has taught us, is to find the tools, and I think you've given us some insight there of purposeful and mindful living, is to find the tools with which to solve our environment, at least our immediate environments, my own, my family's, to create a sense of calm, a sense of trust, a sense of belief, a sense of mindfulness, which creates that sense of positivity around me. And hopefully, but when I changed my environment, my personal, and then my families, I can then affect my communities. And then that obviously will have a broader effect on society too.
Absolutely. So I think as human beings, we're automatically designed that in a challenging time, in a time of, when there's obstacles and we've got to ride that wave, we're naturally inclined to focus on the negative. I mean, to listen to the news out there, open up a paper, open up, a website, a news website, and they're always reporting on the negativity of life, the negative aspects, the terrible things that are happening out there. So I think as human beings, we're naturally inclined to focus on the negative aspects, which brings out those feelings of, I'm feeling totally helpless. There's nothing I can do. Feelings of hopelessness start coming in. Will life ever improve? How is life ever going to improve? How are we ever going to get out of there? And so what we tend to do is really focus on the negativity around us and become these like pessimists that see the glass completely empty as opposed to focusing on the glass being full. But it's such a gift to be able to pull yourself out of that negative space where, again, as human beings, we're naturally inclined to go. When you're able to pull yourself out of that, as you say, the Jewish and the Jewish view on this is really to focus instead on the positivity, on the glass being full. Instead of saying, I feel so helpless, I'm feeling hopeless, I don't know where to turn to, I don't know what to do. Focus instead of, hold on a second, what can I do? Who can I help? Where can I go now that can improve the situation around me? And the moment you start focusing on how can I help the situation, what can I do to improve? So there is a terrible situation happening around me. I'm not going to focus on how helpless I'm feeling, the hopelessness of the situation, but rather on, hold on a second, I obviously am able to help somehow, somewhere in the situation. And the moment you're able to focus on that, it's incredible what a game changer the whole situation becomes, because you start focusing on me helping out the situation. And that is really the Jewish view. The Jewish view is rebuilding, regrowing, not focusing on destruction, not focusing on calamities and terror, but rather focusing on rebirth and growth and rejuvenation and rebuilding. That's the times that we're living in at the moment, the 9 days coming up to Tisha B'Av, where we're focusing on the rebuilding of our third temple, and having that shift of mind, paradigm shift of going from hopelessness to hopeful, and I want to help, and I need to help, and I can help. That's an incredible way to live life.
I would say that would also affect, even your public image or your public image or your public reach in terms of social media or postings or messagings. When people ask you how you're feeling, there's different ways of responding to that. Or if you decide to post things publicly on social media, there's different contexts and sounds and tones that you could be using. So it's not just about changing the way you think or your family thinks. It's also about how you portray that or how you encourage others to think at that point in time. We have Jewish slogans that really have been part of our tradition for so long, that really express this point. Gam ze ya'avor is a positive thought, that this too shall pass, and this is temporary because the long term is going to be more beautiful. Or we have the Yiddish phrase, tracht gut wird sein gut. When you think positive, it will be positive. That's obviously acknowledging, that mindset of, I'm not going to freak, I'm not going to go into an anxiety mode, I'm going to go into a solution mode to bring to that time of solution. What comes to mind when discussing this is Viktor Frankl's book of A Man's Search for Meaning. It is the most powerful, and I really tapped into this book a lot at the beginning of lockdown, when the world was in an anxious, concerned mode, and we felt it around us, being in lockdown for 5-6 months last year. And when I read about his experiences in the camps, the concentration camps in Europe, and how he dealt with it, he was one who definitely took this attitude. I don't know how much it was Torah-based, but definitely he had it within his neshama, within his soul. He lived with this. He didn't need anyone to teach it to him. He lived with it naturally. And that was, I'm not going to fall into a state of anxiety. I'm going to fall into a state of solution. I'm going to create positivity among myself together with my inmates. And that's how we're going to survive this. And he actually says that those who lived with that survived and lived. And those who fell into that mode of catastrophe, disaster, actually end up perishing and passing on in the camp too. So that's quite a role model for us, I think, at this point in time.
Exactly. And I think, a lot of what Viktor Frankl says is that the moment you have a why to live, the moment you have meaning and purpose in your life, life becomes so much easier to live and navigate through. And I think it really ties into what we discussed before. The moment you're able to tap into your unique skills and your unique talents and what is unique to you, your capabilities and what you can do to improve the world around you. And the moment you really tap into that and use that to improve the situation and help somebody out around you, the truth is that not only are you helping people around you and helping the environment around you and just promoting positivity, but you start living with purpose. And the moment you're living with that sense of purpose, of meaning, of you wake up every morning and it's not like, oh, what am I going to hear today? And what am I going to open up Facebook and Instagram and what am I going to see that's happening around the world today? The moment you're able to tap into that and you tap into your purpose, life becomes so meaningful. And I really do believe that if you have that meaning in your life based on who you are and what you're able to give, it becomes easier. The challenges become, I'm not minimizing them, but the challenges become a lot easier to navigate through. And I think that phrase of Gam ze ya'avor and, this too will pass, it just, it becomes like you're able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I just really, we hope and we pray that we're able to get through these challenging times. But let's get through them with meaning. Let's get through them with purpose. Let's get through them with being able to get up every day and really make a difference in the world around us, and by promoting positivity and using whatever we can in our own personal, unique way to really affect the world around us, because it's all a ripple effect. One action on one person's behalf can really change the community, change the country, and really change the world. And please God, we should really see that soon.
So I've gained immensely from this conversation. Just having a bit of time together and talking through this, I think, has given me some things to think about today. And hopefully the goal is that our viewers and who watch this afterwards will hopefully benefit as well with some positivity and positive thoughts. And thanks for joining us to all our viewers. And we look forward, please God, to times of peace, of tranquility. May the unrest in our country settle quickly. May those who are ill have a refuah shalema, and may those families who have lost loved ones be comforted and supported. Thank you all for joining us.